So now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the transfer case, which is the second part in the order of progression. This is the reason that I took the whole truck apart just now, because I had to replace this old transfer case, which is just one solid block like this with two side covers. The reason for that was because I actually broke a screw in here that was holding one of the gears on an axle, and it broke while driving, so I had to go ahead and take this whole thing apart. And the problem with this old design was that if you want to take it apart, you have to pull one of these side pieces off, which, to do that, you have to pull either both rear axles off or both front axles off, which are both big pains in the ass, and I just decided to take the whole thing apart. So now, as you can see, I've got a new transfer case over here, and the cool thing about this is that if you take off these two screws and these four screws right here, this top piece lifts off. If you need to do some repairs on the top side, or if you want to do some repairs on the bottom side, you take these four screws off, these four screws off, and these two screws off, and this bottom piece actually slides right out, which is really convenient if you break something in here. Now I'll go ahead and pop it open just so you can see what I mean. So now that I have all the screws off, I can just go ahead and pop this top piece right off, and you can get access to the gears. Now, as you can see right there, that is not a screw head, that's actually a nail. And I really recommend putting nails in here instead of screws. For the one reason that these are iron or steel compared to aluminum. I've had every single aluminum screw I put in here break. Now, of course, if you have like steel screws or something stronger, then it might work. But I really recommend, instead of going for screws, just go for a 3mm nail. I have never broken one of these, and I doubt that I ever will. And as you can see, I've got one right there. Now, previously, I had a nail on the bottom gear down here, but I had a screw on the top one. And of course, the top one broke while driving, and that was that. So now I learned from my mistakes, and I made it way easier to open, just like that. Now, of course, you can pop this bottom one down as well, but that's more screws to remove, so I'm just showing you this top one right now. Now, another important thing about the transfer case is that it's not aligned with any axle right here, because the axles would be right here, and in the front, and right over here, and in the back. Now, the thing about that is that this is essentially going to be the point that gets stuck the most. So if you're driving along, this point is the one that gets stuck. Now, as you can see with this old one, it is much lower. Let me get some light in here. So as you can see right there, this one is substantially lower on the truck. Now, actually, when I had this old one, it was the lowest point on the truck other than the wheels. But this new one is actually much higher up, and it has a nice curve on it, so you won't be getting stuck on any roots like I've been getting stuck on. The transfer case, it's right after the rear swing axles. It's the simplest thing to do. All you have to do is make this top axle right here, drill a hole through it, put a screw there. Now the bottom axle is a bit more tougher because it's longer, and I also recommend you file a groove to the whole axle so you can attach your gears with grub screws. But you will have to drill a hole in this bottom axle as well, so you can stick a nail through it and the gear, just like that, just like on the top there. And I recommend that you leave some extra length on either side, and then you cut your axle to length after you've gone ahead and screwed that hole, to make sure you don't put it in the wrong spot on accident. Now, these screws right here, they're purely cosmetic. They're super short. They don't actually do anything. The part would have looked kind of bland if I didn't have them there, so that's the reason for that. These gears are printed, not metal, unlike the final transmission gears, or the ones that go on the actual drive shaft. I would recommend printing these at least in ABS. Don't bother printing them in PLA if you have any other material. These are nylon right here. You could use polycarbonate, you could use nylon, you could use ABS, you could use PETG, just anything stronger than PLA, because when I had PLA gears in here, they just broke, unfortunately. I've also got some grease in there just to help them glide along, and I'm pretty sure that's it for the transfer case. See you in the next one.